All right. I know I'm going to be the odd woman out here, and I'm expecting it to happen. And hey, you can either agree with me or not. But every single year in October, I know that it's not just Halloween, but it's also breast cancer month. To where that WWE actually sponsors Susan G. Komen with the whole pink robes, bands, everything, the whole ribbon on your lapel, whatever you call it, your shirt. But yeah, you sponsor Susan G. Komen. I understand that. I get that. But the one thing I don't get are these segments that they have every single year. These segments that they have every single year, either with John Cena with a giant check promoting how much they're going to give Susan G. Komen all this money, or the fact they picked three women out the crowd who either had breast cancer or currently has breast cancer, and they give them special treatment. Now, here's my big beef about that. There are thousands and thousands and thousands upon thousands of men and women. Men can get breast cancer too, I might add. That they have men and women that have the same disease that these three women that they chose tonight had. I am not saying in any way, shape, or form they do not deserve to have the belts that were given to them. But I am saying, just as fairness, they should give the belts to pretty much everybody that actually not only watches the show, but that was in the crowd that day, and give them the same special treatment that they give those three ladies in the ring. Those three ladies are not the only ones that have the disease. There are thousands upon thousands of men and women that have the same disease that were actually there. I wouldn't be surprised if they were actually there watching the show live or watching on television set. I'm just saying. I really believe that instead of just giving those three women those world titles, the WWE Women's Championship, I think they should give every woman in the crowd that represent that charity the actual women's championship, as well as the men who is there representing. Not just those three women in the ring. There's nothing wrong with actually hinting it, not hinting it, but actually talking about it, maybe in a little takeaway. That's fine. Like maybe in a little, I guess, transition leading on up to a match, talking about the charity like they did with Connor's Cure. I'm fine with that. But when you actually have three chosen women with a disease that a lot of people, a lot of women and men have, and having them just have belts in the ring just don't really seem fair. I know a lot of people don't really want to talk about it because of the fact that these women had cancer and they think it's not fair. But I'm going to be real here. This is just my opinion. You don't have to like it. You don't have to listen to it. But this is just my opinion. I don't think they should have gave these women special treatment. I think they should give all the people that actually were there the same treatment those women had. I'm not saying that they need to take the belts back. I'm not saying that I'm outraged because they got the belts. I'm saying because I think it's unfair that those three women were selected and those three women were actually in the ring instead of everybody else getting the same treatment. And that actually makes me feel that WWE is actually taking advantage of this charity instead of actually supporting the charity. You can support the charity without literally calling people out and putting a spotlight on them. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have it. But the way they did it by giving them titles makes me feel like they're actually pimping out the charity. That's how I'm feeling it. I'm feeling they're actually literally saying, oh, we're doing good with this charity. Here is some championship belts. Or here is a $500,000 towards your charity. And they do it in a grand scale. If you actually do support a charity, you shouldn't have to do it in a grand scale. You should actually do it out of the goodness of your heart instead of saying, I'm going to get something out of this. And that is what I saw them do. And that's the one thing that bothered me that night. Well, tonight, actually. I am recording this on Monday. But other than that, that's the one thing that really bothered me. It just felt like they were making this too much into a grand scale for their own personal benefit instead of doing it for a cause that they actually do believe in. I feel like they were actually promoting too much of this charity for their own selfish promotion. And that's just how I felt. With those three women being in the ring and getting those women's titles, it just seems unfair. That's just how I feel about it. I don't believe that these women should have the belts taken back. I don't feel these women should not have been chosen. But I feel like for the women and men that have the same disease they do, they should all get belts. And that's what I'm going to say about that. And I'm just going to move on from there to my review. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. The last time I was on this channel for anything Raw related, it laid out the most biggest of rants I have ever had in my entire life of how angry I was at the pay-per-view, the first pay-per-view of Raw. But man, do I have to say that I never saw this coming. For some strange reason, when it comes to LA always has the best of everything. They have the best Raws, they have the best pay-per-views. Shoot, their Hell in a Cell was by far, with Brock Lesnar and Undertaker, was by far amazing. But other than that, I never really saw this Raw coming. I didn't at all. With Lana starting off having Roman Reigns come out with the U.S. title and him talking and people booing, then have Lana come out. Now, the one thing I'm going to say about Lana is that there was a lot of truth in her voice. And let's be real here. When it comes to Roman Reigns, you don't really see Roman Reigns coming to the Usos' aid. He's out there promoting the whole Samoan dynasty, but he don't come to their aid at all. They come to his aid, but this may be a handful of times he actually came to their aid. So she has a valid point. He's pretty much using the fact that he's Samoan and have a whole lot of people before him that were Samoan legends, and he's using the name just to promote himself. If you honestly think about it, that is how he's pretty much rolling at this point. Because when the Usos had his back, the Usos had his back. He did not have their back. He had their back, once, twice? Not much. But other than that, she had a valid point. And that is why I really did like that opener. It was something different. Not to mention the fact it makes Rusev look more like a babyface than a heel. But let's be real here. He's going to always be a heel because of where he's from. He's never going to be a babyface because of the fact he's in the States. He's going to be a heel because he's Bulgarian. That's a shame. But I'm just speaking truth here. Let's just be honest. He is always going to be a heel because he is Bulgarian. But other than that, the way that the whole storyline is set up is making Rusev look like a babyface. But in a way, it's making Roman look like a heel, but he's still acting like a babyface. And it's kind of a mixed bag. There are people that actually are rooting for him to be a babyface and then rooting for him to be a heel. But hey, the WWE Universe can never make up their mind. So, yeah, I'm just going to move this over for a second. Oop, no, there. Okay. But anyway, guys, I have to say this. There was a lot of things that just kind of thrown in my direction that I really wasn't expecting. Especially the segment with the New Day. The New Day always has the whole corny cornball segments that I really can care less about. But when they had a segment in there with Jericho and Kevin Owens, I was in stitches. Like, it was just straight up funny. And their banter back and forth was absolutely amazing. It was just wonderful. I loved every bit of it. I really did. And guys, they were just on point the whole night. And yes, I did not mind so much seeing Ashton Kutcher and that other guy that was on that 70s show. I cannot remember his name at the moment. But Ashton Kutcher happens to be a WWF fan. He has been a WWF fan and a WWE fan for the longest. He even came up with his own name and his own finisher. And his finisher is known as the Farmhand. That is how much of a fan this guy is. He literally made his own finisher as well as his own name. I can't think of the name right now, but you can tell how diehard this guy is. I'm fine with people like that. If they're a diehard fan and they're not there just to promote their own name, I'm cool with that. I really am. And these guys are diehards. Well, at least I know that Ashton is a diehard. I don't know about the other guy. But other than that, I do know that he's a diehard fan. And it was cool to actually see him not interfere. I'm happy that they did not have any celebrities interfere in the ring. It was completely, like, it was off. Like, they were literally just there. They were celebrities out there talking to commentary, and they kept it that way. They didn't interfere in the match. They didn't do anything they weren't supposed to do. They were just fans from a distance. I'm fine with them being fans from a distance. That's the one thing that I enjoyed about it. Now, the whole thing with Jericho and Kevin Owens, I'm not going to lie, it's a bit off-putting. It really is. For some reason, Jericho is taking it to the nth degree, and Kevin Owens is not taking it far enough. And it's just weird. It really is weird. It's just not, the chemistry between those two is decent, but you can tell that Kevin Owens, and this is how well it's being played out, that Kevin Owens is like, it's like, it's like the friend that's never had a friend in his life, but then he had that one friend and just goes nuts with it. And Kevin Owens is a popular guy, and he's used to having a lot of people around him that are friends. And he's like, just chill out, slow your roll. But that's pretty much how I'm seeing it when it comes to Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. But when they had the match with the New Day, the one thing I really didn't notice is that Chris Jericho looked far better in the ring than Kevin Owens ever did. And Kevin Owens happens to be the champion. That's the only gripe that I had with that match. Chris Jericho's been there, done that, got the t-shirt. He doesn't need to be promoted anymore. He needs to be the legend to promote the new stars. He doesn't need to be a star himself because he's already proven that. So it's not necessary for him to be over. It's necessary for Kevin Owens to be over. But for some strange reason, throughout that entire match, you got freaking Chris Jericho looking far better than the champ. That's not good. That is bad. That is bad beyond reason. But other than that, the match was fairly decent with the New Day. And I mean, it was all right. I mean, it was a standard match between those two guys. It was a really great match. I didn't really, expect it to be bad. But other than that, there's the one thing that kind of gets me a little bit is the cruiserweights. Not so much the fact that the cruiserweights are not integrated. I'm happy that they're not. Because if the cruiserweights was integrated into Raw, into the Raw roster, they would have to dumb themselves down fairly quickly. They could not have that same flair, same high-flying pizzazz that they did have when they were in the cruiserweight tournament. They would literally have to be like everybody else. They would not be special anymore. I'm fine with the purple ropes. I'm fine with the purple surroundings. I'm fine with the fact that the cruiserweights are separate from everybody else because they need to be. If they were actually with Raw, they would be like every other person there. There's something special about these cruiserweights. These cruiserweights actually do lift up the crowd. They actually keep the crowd from falling asleep with the 3 hours that people have to suffer through sometimes. And it was great the fact that they started off with TJ Perkins versus Brian Kendrick. I love Brian Kendrick, and I'm happy that Brian Kendrick lost at the first pay-per-view at Clash of Champions. I'm happy that he did because I don't see him as a champion anymore. Don't get it wrong. I love me some Brian Kendrick because I don't see classic heels like him anymore. He is a classic dirty heel. I haven't seen a classic dirty heel since the late 80s. Seriously, since the late 80s. And I guess maybe since Ric Flair's early run, like his younger days. He's still the dirtiest player in the game, even moving down towards his final match. But you don't really see a lot of classic dirty heels anymore. He is a classic dirty heel, and I already said that about a million times. But then you also got TJ Perkins, who happens to be representing the millennials. And he actually is pretty good. I love TJ Perkins, and I like that they actually did start off with this cruiserweight match. Now, I love the entrance, of course, and the match between TJ Perkins and Brian Kendrick is great. Their personalities actually do mesh. They're different, but they mesh together. They work well together. They don't clash like I thought they would be, but they actually work very well together. Now, the match itself was amazing. I really do like it. I didn't really like the finish, though. And the reason why I don't is because of the fact that when you had Clash of Champions, I think that he did the captain's hook at least twice on TJ Perkins, and TJ Perkins was able to get out of it twice. So when you actually see the captain's hook being used on him this time, and he taps out, it's something I don't necessarily buy, because of the fact that he actually tapped out, he didn't really tap out of it the first 2 times he used it at Clash of Champions. He was able to find a way to get out of that hold. So how come he wasn't able to get out of that hold this time? That's the one thing that kind of bothered me. He used the very same hold that he used at Clash of Champions that didn't work. So I'm like, okay, why do you use that on TJ Perkins? It doesn't really make any sense. And TJ Perkins taps out. That's the only beef that I actually do have about that match. But other than that, the match was actually fairly good. And then we move on down to Rick Swann versus Eric Nese. Oh boy. I'm not a fan of Rich Swann, and I'm trying to say Rich Swann. I'm not a fan of his because of his shucking and jiving gimmick. I'm sorry. Let's just call it what it is. It's shucking and jiving gimmick. People like that now. They enjoy that like they enjoy the New Day. So fine, I'm gonna let you guys have it. But other than that, he is an amazing performer. I would not deny that he is not. I just don't like his gimmick. I never will enjoy his gimmick. And I really do feel that gimmicks like that unfortunately keeps minorities down. And when I mean minority, I mean black. And it's just a big stereotype that really does hold them back. And I really never liked it. Even though it's fun, even though it's campy, it's the fun and campiness that gets you trapped. Especially if you're a minority with that stereotype already attached to you. I'm just saying that, but I ain't going to go into the whole pro-black thing. I'm going to move on from there. But other than that, him versus Eric Nese, great match. Eric Nese, in my opinion, he's a big dude for a cruiserweight, even though he is a cruiserweight technically, and he's like a cruiserweight by a margin, but that dude is just pure strength. That's just how I see it. And seeing how you got the high-flying technicality, if that's a way of saying it, the high-flying technical moves of Rich Swann, and then you also got the power of Eric Nese, that's also a good mesh together. A good match together. But this is one thing that I actually was talking to Irvin about. Now, with the cruiserweights, they only have 6 people in the cruiserweight division. Why can't you make it an open invitation for anybody that matches the same rate requirements, not rate, but weight requirements for the cruiserweight division to be in the cruiserweight division, like they had back in the day when they had Matt Hardy trying to lose 100 pounds to be in the cruiserweight division. Why can't they have an open challenge or an open invitation for anyone on Raw or on SmackDown to be a part of the cruiserweight division, even though, and the reason why I'm saying this is because they're making the cruiserweight division segregated from the actual rosters themselves. So why can't you make it an open invitation for anybody to be in it since you already have 6 people? It will not only give people on SmackDown as well as Raw the 15 minutes that they need and they want, it will also showcase the talents beyond what people know. That's just that's just all I'm saying about that. And that's just my personal thoughts and theories about that. I really think they should make it open for both brands, whoever matches the weight requirements to be a part of the division. I'm just going to say that and move on from there. But other than that, guys, I kind of want to get into the main event. I just do. Now, we haven't seen women main event Raw in 12 years. Since 2004, I believe. And this came, and Irvin kind of gave me the whole date on that. But yeah, it's been literally 12 years since we've had women actually main event Raw, which shows you that they could not phone it in. They had to bring it. Now, we all know why they do this. Raw has been suffering a lot in the ratings, so they need a huge ratings boost. And what big ratings boost was there to have Sasha Banks win on the first ever Raw after the brand split? So honestly, they did it again, but it still did not diminish that feeling that I had of joy. I have never felt, well, I'm not going to say I've never felt, I have felt this happy. I felt this happy the first time she won, and I'm even happier now. Now, the one concern that I have is that they actually gave Sasha Banks the title for 3 weeks. I just want her to have the title for at least 3 months. That's all that I ask. And Sasha Banks, man, that chick, she got thrown on her head, tossed about like a freaking rag doll. But as soon as Charlotte said, "You will never beat me," I'm like, dear Lord, are they going to really do it? Oh my gosh. Lord, please tell me they're going to do it. And they did. Thank you, Lord. They actually had Sasha Banks take the belt. You have no idea how happy I am. And I know there's going to be a lot of critics out there talking about, oh my gosh, this is the second Raw in a row. She should be on a Big 4 pay-per-view. Now, honestly, or maybe on the pay-per-view itself. Now, I'm going to be real. I'm not going to take away from anybody's opinions. But the fact that Sasha Banks won makes this chick happy. I don't care. I don't care if it was 2 Raws, 3 Raws, 4, 5, 6, 8 Raws in a row. I don't care. The fact that Sasha Banks won makes me one big, happy, big hair camper. I ain't gonna lie about that. This is the second time I have literally been this happy. And congrats to her. I am excited about what's going to happen. And I hope they give this chick a decent title reign because she should have it. She deserves it. Now, I know people are like, well, what's going to happen with Bayley? Bayley, I'm hoping that she don't get the title anytime soon. She needs to work her way up. Not a lot of people know who she is yet. But other than that, the look on Charlotte's face. That chick was broken. Like, I have never seen someone ready to cry in my life. And honestly, her performance was amazing. I'm starting to enjoy Charlotte a lot more as a heel. She actually did the perfect diva breakdown. Well done, girl. Well done, Charlotte. That was an amazing match. Amazing psychology going into the match at a short period of time. Amazing performance by both girls. Amazing selling when it comes to injuries. An amazing finish. Seriously. The fact that Sasha Banks rolled up into another Banks statement. Well done. The corkscrew moonsault. Something I never expected Charlotte to do. That chick pulled off all stops. A corkscrew moonsault. That is how she brought it. And that's what makes me really respect Charlotte. Not only as a heel, but as a performer. She literally brought her A game. That's what makes you believe that these two women, they are literally A game material. And they did an amazing job having them main event Raw, which is something that's literally going to have everybody talking the next day. They did an amazing job. If they don't bring up the ratings from here, I'm like, I don't know what y'all can do. But seriously, it was a really good Raw. Really was. I didn't even expect it. I didn't even expect this good Raw to happen. And yeah, sure, in LA, they always have great Raws. But this was a Raw that was well done. I'm clapping to this. Good job. And sure, I could talk about Cesaro and Sheamus and how they can't get along. And I can, but I don't really care anymore. I'm waiting for Cesaro to actually go to SmackDown. Because in my humble opinion, the Best of 7 did nothing but actually cater to and also made look better Sheamus. Like, Sheamus was the overall winner of that entire series. Even though there was no winner, Sheamus looked like a champ. He looks like a champ even now, in my humble opinion. I'm waiting for Cesaro to go to SmackDown and actually have better moments on SmackDown than on Raw. But other than that, guys, here are my overall thoughts about this Raw. This was a really good Raw. I never expected this Raw to be this good. I never expected the segments to have me in stitches. I never expected the backstage banters between not only Ashton Kutcher and Chris Jericho, which was hilarious. And he just brought out the whole list of Jericho again, even though I think it's stale. He made it funny for those segments. The main event itself was amazing. The matches themselves were really good. Braun Strowman literally kind of, in my opinion, had a shoot more than a work about how pissed off he was getting because of the fact he was getting all these jobbers. And you know what? He has every reason to be mad. That's what made me love this Raw. This Raw just felt so real. A lot realer than it ever felt. And that's what made me really enjoy this Raw more. But guys, I want to hear your overall thoughts about this Raw. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Because honestly, y'all, I am spent. I have never felt so happy again in my life for Sasha Banks winning. And I'm going to go to bed a very happy camper. A happy big hair camper. But other than that, guys, that is it for me. Nature Girl 30 signing off. Peace out. Later.